Do not skip a second. This story coils tight and only releases its grip at the very end.
Watch until the last word if you want the truth to it where it utmost. Chapter 1. The Return to Ashmarrow.
The mountains were the color of old teeth, yellowed by long winters and chewed ragged by wind.
Ashmarrow Ridge broke, the sky like a snapped jaw.
I felt it spite the moment we turned off the county road and followed the narrow switchbacks up to the lodge.
Snow breathed in little puff around the tier, and the pine drew closer a if to us.
I hadn't been here since last winter, since the night the mountain decided to keep what we owed it. We returned pretending to be braver than we were. May had the keys. She always had keys to places she shouldn't. Evan dragged a cooler like it was some kind of talisman, clinking cans for courage. Cassie wouldn't stop filming, her lens a third eye that never blinked. And me? I was the one who said yes first, the one who believed in closure the way some people believe in sunrise. I wanted to be the girl who went back and didn't flinch. We told each other we were here to honor what we'd lost. We used words like memory and vigil. None of us admitted the more petty truth. We wanted our fear to obey us. We wanted to stand on the ridge, speak names into the wind, and demand them back from whatever more had swallowed them. The lodge waited, pale-faced and cross-hatched with old beams. We found it how we left it, a bloated shadow on the ridge, windows starred with frost, a porch that creaked like a throat clearing before confession. May jimmied the door, and it gave with a sound like a long sigh. The air inside smelled like char and pine and the sour cold of rooms no one breathes in. The generator coughed to life, lights guttered on, and the place looked almost domesticated again. Same as last time, Evan said. Which wasn't true.
Nothing is ever the same as last time.
Chapter 2. Games People Play. It started as jokes. It always does. May discovered a prop trunk we'd left behind, relics from a night last winter we made into an ugly performance. Masks with exaggerated smiles. A stage knife with a retractable blade. A voice changer that made us sound like machinery. Evan put the mask on and made the knife burp back into the handle, holding it to his own chest as if daring fate to finish what the toy started. Too soon? He asked. Cassie kept filming. It'll be good for the cut, she said. She means the edit, but we all called it the cut now, because everything we did up here sliced us open. There was a hand-painted placard nailed above the hearth that I didn't remember. The wood was old, chisel marks fresh. It showed a bird with its beak pried open, song spilling like smoke. Underneath, a question is a snare, an answer is bait. Creepy, May said, snapping a photo.
Who made this?
No one answered. The mountain keeps its carpenters. We set up sleeping bags.
We stacked wood.
We loaded the big fireplace until the logs collapsed in a brief avalanche and the flames puffed out embers that looked like escaped stars. Outside, the wind reeled in the pines and then slackened, as if adjusting the rope that tethered the night. I made tea. Cassie found the radio, an old emergency unit with a crank, and insisted on trying to raise someone in town.
We looked when the first voice came through.
It sounded like interference shaped into apology. Then it tried again, clearer, a recording we'd made last year, we figured. Our own voices, tinny and badly spliced, looped back at us. You there? You there? You there?
The radio wasn't plugged into anything.
It kept speaking.
Chapter 3. In the walls, in the hills. Sometime after midnight, the power blinked.
Not out, exactly, but shy. The generator hiccuped and the lodge dimmed as if all the lights had held their breath. We joked through it. We pulled the game trunk out and set up a seance because when something ancient watches, we perform for it like obedient animals. Cassie killed her ring light and I spoke the first words because I always do.
If anything listen, we invite you. If anything inge, we offer nothing. Nice, Evan murmure.
Real safe. May smirked. I brought something. She pulled a folded note from her pocket. It was grubby with thumbprints. I felt my stomach lurch. I knew the paper before she unfolded it. We had written it last winter in ink that bled like a wound. It was supposed to be burned. We tossed it into the fireplace then, all of us watching until the white went black and curled. I watched it. I swear I watched. The note was whole. The words were our dare. Come find us. We'll be waiting until dawn. For a long minute nobody moved.
The radio crackled.
Somewhere in the walls, The heat snapped a beam into settling.
The fire exhaled.
I heard ice tightening its fists in the window frames. Then the lodge's hallway filled with slow steps that weren't any of ours.
Et elle.
Tôt. A pause, as if rediscovering how to walk. Then again.
Et elle.
Tôt. As gentle as a hand learning to hold. Evan leaned forward, the stage knife like a talisman in his palm. Cassie didn't film now, she stared with both hands empty. May's laugh was brave and wrong. I told myself it was probably a raccoon or the heat. I also told myself not to say its name. The one we invented last winter when we were too cruel for our own lives. The one who comes when the breath fogs and the doors don't latch. We never meant it to be real. But we had given it a name anyway, then didn't speak it now. The mouth wants to name.
The mountain want to listen.
The steps moved past the hallway toward the storage room that led to the guts of the lodge, the crawl space, the old plank steps, the access hatch to the crawl tunnels that lead to the bones of the ridge itself. The wind pressed a question against the windows, and the wood answered, reminding us what pressure sounds like right before it becomes a scream.
Chapter 4, Hollow Days, Hollow Night.
We told ourselves we'd stick together. Then we split. That's how fear writes us. Cassie and Evan took the hole to the storage room, while May and I checked the breaker in the basement. We needed the generator steady if we wanted heat and light to distract us from the way the lodge inhaled. In the basement, the light was thin and greedy. It made islands of everything and left the corners to their own devices.
The breaker panel uncrooked.
A square of taped-on cardboard fluttered in the draft from the old coal chute. Someone had written on it, careful block letters punched straight into the cardboard with a ballpoint pen that had to be gouged to make it show up in dimness. It read,
Do not feed it after midnight. Do not follow your own voice.
Do not bleed where it can smell. May swallowed. Who did this? It's probably a prop, I said.
You know how, Evan.
Yeah, but I found this note in my jacket today, she said, finger ghosting over the old dare. And I didn't put it there. Something skittered above us. Something that wasn't small.
He felt the mountain shift, the way a sleeping animal rotate one joint without waking all the way, testing the air with one nostril.
We carried a work light down the narrow corridor that connected to the crawl tunnels. The cold there wasn't honest. It didn't refresh. It leached. It took. The walls had the kind of carvings that weren't for tourists, shallow marks left by folks who needed to tell the dark where they were. Some were names. Some were tally marks that ended in smears as if the hand had wandered off and never returned. We found the ranger's cache by accident. It looked like a shrine and a pantry argue-fused. Old tins.
A flargun.
Cans of coffee gone to stone. A logbook zippered into a bag that crackled when I unsealed it. The first pages were weather. The last pages were apology, not for doing wrong, but for taking too long to learn. Each entry was a narrowing tunnel through someone's mind as their words trimmed down to essential warnings.
Irid allô. Fire works until it learn you. Talking works until it knows your timbre. Keep your mouth DRY. Keep your it low.
It presses its face to the glass to see warmth.
It wear what it eat the way the mountain wear wind.
It does not hunt you for malice. It hunts you because the night asks a price. Don't pay with your laughter.
May touched the flargun.
That's a hell of a lullaby, she said. The generator faltered again up in the lodge, the sound of it like a man trying not to cough while someone else sleeps. When the light stuttered, the dark felt like it pulled tight, elastic snapping back into place. Cassie screamed then. Or I did. Or both of us did, and the radio pulled our voices through its throat in the other room. We ran, new rules scribbled behind our eyes, our breath already bargaining to slow down enough to hide us and failing. It's hard to ask your body to be quiet when it thinks silence will get you killed just as surely as sound. Chapter 5, The First Trade. We found Cassie in the vestibule by the porch. Her face was lamplight, pupils low-tide. She was pointing at the frosted glass of the front door. The frost had bloomed into a shape. If I had been braver or more foolish, I would have said that the frost had been guided by the heat of a face pressed to the other side. The outline had the suggestion of eyes set too wide and a mouth like a divided fruit. Evan stood a foot back with the stage knife. He looked very small inside his jacket, as if the garment had outgrown him. His breath made little clouds that clung to his lips. What did you see? I asked. Cassie's camera lay on the floor and blinked a red light to show it was dying. She had the radio in one hand, knuckles bloodless. "It sounded like me," she whispered. "In the hallway. It said please. And then it said I can't feel my hands. I said that last winter. I said it when we went out to search. I said it right before." She cut off. The radio finished for her.
I can't feel my hand.
"Please." May took the flare gun and slung the strap around her shoulder like picking sides. "We go to the tower," she said. "Beacon's got its own generator. Someone will see us." "That means crossing the tree line," Evan said.
In the wind.
"Then we go through the service tunnels to the West Trail," I said.
My voice sounded professional.
Like someone did inventory on fear and found the shortfall acceptable.
No windows.
No glass. It can't press its face against what isn't there. Or we wait it out, Evan tried.
Until dawn.
I don't know which choice was right. I know which one we made. The doors were old. The windows were thinner than the dark. The lodge kept breathing like a sleeper whose dream makes them kick. We went to the service tunnels, and when we opened the access hatch, the cold was intimate, like a hand slipping behind your shirt. "Stay close," May said, though we already were. Evan went last.
The radio wouldn't shut up.
It mouthed our footprints back at us. It asked us to come back to the room we had just left. It was very polite. We found fresh carvings etched into the tunnel timbers, crude birds with their beaks sewn shut. What had anyone hoped to keep from singing?
The wind treaded under the world.
We moved along a path the ranger had chalked, little excess like molars pulled from a grin. Somewhere behind us something moved with careful hunger. It did not scrape. It did not stumble. It imitated. It reached each time I lifted my foot.
It sat down when I sat down.
It matched. I think the dark learns us like a song it wants to hum later when we're not there to hear. At the first junction, we found a coat snagged on a nail. It was May's coat, the one she was wearing, in the color she was wearing, with the same tear on the cuff from the time she tried to vault the porch rail last winter and caught herself wrong. The pockets had our note. The dare. Come find us.
Okay, May said, too bright.
Nope.
No.
She took off the flare gun and handed it to me. I need both hands. For what? To punch God. Chapter 6, Glass and Salt.
The tunnel spatues into the workshop of the caretaker's shed.
Frost laced the inside of the windows where the wood had shrunk. Tools hung in neat rows, each one a little silhouette of a threat. There were jars of rock salt, because someone up here still believed in old recipes, and a bag labeled calcium chloride. I'm not superstitious, I told myself, and scooped salt into my pockets anyway. The shed's door opened onto the West Trail, a black notch in the trees where the wind had combed the snow down. The sky was a bruise softening toward something paler beyond it. Dawn was possible, not promised. The radio was quiet now, and that scared me more than speech might have. "We're going to be fine," Evan said. "We are. We just have to." His voice came from the radio in my pocket a split second after he spoke. But the radio version was wrong in a way only humans know. It was him, but not. His words were clean, too clean, shaved free of the mistakes we make when we care. The edges were knife sharp. We all heard it. The radio repeated, "We're going to be fine. We are. We just have to." "Don't answer it," I said. He nodded. "I won't." The radio said, "I will." The door to the shed creaked and then swung wide as if caught by a draft.
Nothing stood there.
But a smear of heat formed on the inside of the glass, an oval smudge like a child's breath, and from within that oval 2 darker patches suggested eyes.
"Don't let it smell blood," he whispered, remembering the logbook.
And then, because my mouth is disobedient, I bit my lip and tasted iron. It moved then.
Not into the shed.
Around it. Along the exterior wall where the salt hadn't been. We could feel its weight translate through the boards, a line of pressure. I don't think it had a shape so much as a direction, a want. The radio laughed, which none of us had taught it. I uncapped the flare gun. May grabbed the work light and pointed it toward the window. Light can be a kind of courage if you don't stare too hard at what it reveals. The oval smudge on the glass elongated as if a mouth smiled. The wood groaned. A nail near Evan's head eased out of the frame with a squeal that felt exactly like a whimper. The mountain was opening its teeth. "Move," I said, and we did. We burst through the door into the west trail, because sometimes the only mistake you can avoid is staying where you think you're safe. The snow took us to the thigh. It was a field of whispers.
Behind us something alters the wind's grammar.
Ahead, the dark thin toward the signal tower. Its skeleton scraped the sky in simple geometry. We ran. That makes it sound like grace. It was not. It was a fast negotiation between fear and muscle. Something paced us on the other side of the pines, choosing its footing as if to perfect the echo of our stride. When Evan slipped, it slipped. When he swore, the radio apologized for him in a voice that pretended to be mine. At the base of the tower, the door hung off one hinge. The lock had been chewed by men, not night. We slammed inside. May kicked the door.
It swung, cocked, swung again.
The tower's interior was ladders and the smell of old batteries. I fumbled at the control panel and found the generator's choke. It coughed like a heavy drinker and then began the long complaint of waking. The thing at the door did not press its face against the glass. It leaned there in a way that made the hinges flex, patient not because it had time but because it was all time. Through a smear of frost, I saw the suggestion of a jaw too hinged, a face not worn right.
It wore what it had.
It had tried on our voices and found a fit. Light, May said. Flood it.
Hit the switch.
The tower threw a cone of pallid light into the trees. The thing moved away from the angle like shadow obeying simple math. For a second I believed we had solved it. Then the radio whispered into my pocket, so close to my ear that if I had hair on my neck it would have risen in indecent attention. Open. Please.
It's so cold.
I drew the flare gun and aimed at the floor between us and the door. If it came through, we'd burn the air itself. I saw Evan's eyes and saw the calculation there, the one none of us wants to admit. How many make it if one does not? He moved before I could speak. He yanked the door all the way and bellowed into the white, "Hey." The sound had a ribbon of bravado and a knot of terror. He ran left, away from the beam, away from us, a decoy men write songs about when they want to pretend heroism isn't just grief postponed. It followed him. It flowed after the warmth and the noise like water takes the shape of a fall. May grabbed my sleeve hard enough to leave half-moon marks. "We climb," she said. Now. We climbed.
The generator steadied. The beacon inhaled.
The tower became our throat and screamed light.
Chapter 7. What the morning takes.
From the top platform, the world looked like a map someone had drawn without hands, all blur and certainty. Dawn was not a single thing. It arrived in decisions.
The sky shows less black. The pine chose to let go of a little night.
The snow chose blue instead of iron. The light licked the ridge and found old bones under the crust of winter, and everything woke up enough to be terrifying in new ways. We saw movement in the trees, Evan's jacket, a slash of color, and then the color gone. The radio narrated and then regretted everything it said. We stood under the beacon and let it soak us. "Do you hear that?" May asked. The birds weren't singing yet, but the air had light in it. The wind made a sound like a drawer closing, neat, decisive. I wanted to believe the night was folding itself away like laundry. A shape miscalculated the angle of the light and cut itself on the beam. For a second it was all limbs and teeth and the suggestion that under skin there are ideas you don't want until you have them. The flare gun was heavy in my hand. I fired. The flare hit the snow at the tower's base and went off with a scream of magnesium. The world went white and red and then white again. The shape threw itself away from the brightness. It moved wrong in the way animals move when they've been watched too long and start to act like theater. It disappeared into the pines and took the cold with it for a breath. Sirens? Maybe. Or the tower pretending to be a thing that helps. Or the mountain laughing at our gadgets.
Mae s'en shook.
Mine did not. Fear had done neat work of me. When the first bird cried, a single note, thin as the bone of a finger, the radio exhaled and died. The beacon kept shining.
The wind found new work.
The thing in the trees, if it had been a thing, moved deeper into the ridge where light has to choose twice to get through. We climbed down, rung by rung, into a morning that didn't reward us for surviving. The snow held patterns I didn't want to read, inscriptions of chase and retreat and the moment when something learns another thing's pace. We found a scarf, a camera, A note we had written a year ago to a version of ourselves that would never open it because we had burned it then. The note said the same thing it had always said.
Come find us will be waiting until dawn.
We returned to the lodge because we're stupid about endings. Suns rise. We return.
The generator stibreted.
The fire was friendly now in the way a witness is friendly after the trial. We packed slow reverent, as if the mountain could smell disrespect. At the door, we found a palm print in the frost. Not a hand.
Not a personne descend, anyway.
5 suggestions of contact. The middle mark was wrong.
It spiraled.
I touched it with my scarf, lifted it away. The frost held for a second and then let go as if embarrassed to be seen. On the drive down, the switchbacks rode under us like a slow animal that had decided to play domesticated until we were off its back. The radio in the truck was silent. May didn't run it. She looked straight ahead with the expression of someone who'd put her fingers to a pulse and decided to keep counting a little longer. Do we tell? She asked.
Tell what?
I answered. About our note? About the thing that wears sound?
About the way the frost grow, a face where your breeze touche glass.
She nodded. We tell it to ourselves first, I said. We tell it until it gets tired of hearing it. Then we tell it to anyone who thinks this mountain is just geography.
She looked a little.
It sounded like survival. Until dawn, she said. Until something, I said.
When I dream now. Sometime I wake up with salt in my mouth. Hear the radio under my PO repeat one word. Open.
I swallow and keep my lips closed and feel my pulse jog under my tongue because it thinks it belongs to 2 bodies now. Mine and that long, patient dark. I'm the one telling this because it liked my voice. It wore me well. It learned my pauses. So if you've listened all the way to the end, if you've felt the ridge put its hand on your back and push, do me a favor.
Keep your breath off the glass. Keep your blood where it belongs.
And if you ever hear yourself asking to be let in, make sure you're the one with your mouth moving.
Way for the birds.
They don't sing permission. They sing proof. If this tale gripped you, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications so you won't miss our next descent into the dark, give the video a like to help it find new ears, comment with your favorite moment or theory, and share it with someone who thinks they can make it until dawn.